Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by my buddy Myron.
Yes, back at the offices of the world's greatest professional wrestling podcast. We are here with all kind of news and covering the Wrestlemania and the road to that place.
That's
Hello,
right.
folks.
Listen, brother, got a lot of stuff going to jump into it. This is the double week where you get both shows this week. We get the flagship show, the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, and a Georgia Indie podcast as well. And let's look, we're working on when we're going to release both of these because that's the challenges of do we release them on the same day, which is kind of what we're doing. And by the way, if you are following us on patreon.com/tappedoutpod or youtube.com with the handles @tappedoutpod, you'd actually get the shows, both of them, on Wednesday, and then they drop on Thursday. Just saying, you do get them early and often, So, look, become a member over on Patreon or sign up over on YouTube as well. You can become a member there. But like the page, subscribe, turn your notifications on, all that good stuff, because you'll be notified even when they drop. Because your boy actually I get wild some, Thursdays when I wake up and I'm like, man, it's 8 o'clock. I just want to go ahead and release it. And I'll change the settings to, release it early,
Yes.
type of stuff. So
At 8 o'clock, Nick's already been up like 4 hours.
Feels like it some days. Today was one of those days for sure. But look, man, you brought it up. Let's just dive right into it, man. So obviously it was Super Bowl week. So everybody's in Las Vegas except for me. I was sad. I love Vegas. Vegas is a fun town.
I've never been to Vegas.
I don't know if you could handle Vegas, dude. It's like just with not drinking now. That's the problem. That's a problem for you.
Well, I'm not handling overstimulation well in my old age, and also I'm getting incredibly cranky as I age, which is not a good sign either. So,
yeah, but of course, they decided they're going to have this massive media event, press conference, call you whatever you.
Oh yes, Thursday night, this massive presser Road to WrestleMania kickoff show. We're sitting in McDonough at the greatest TV taping I've ever been at. It was so amazing. We saw the Yeti sighting, and between matches, you've got your phone trying to catch this press conference, and I'm looking between your knees, unfortunately, trying to see what your phone says and read the press conference because you had it on closed captioning for the hearing impaired so we could see what was going on. We were directly behind where they displayed the belt, so we couldn't, sell the whole.
We were being subtle, is what you're saying.
Being
we were being
subtle.
Like
being subtle, but I mean, hell, The Rock slapped Cody Rhodes for Christ's sake.
Like, let me ask you. Let's kind of pivot a little bit, and I'm going to ask
my soul.
I want to ask you because one of the cool things I did like about it. No desk, no podiums. It was just come out like on a stage. It almost looked like a TED Talk.
It was a promo. It was a giant TED Talk promo.
Yeah. We got before they started, Big E, Pat McAfee, Michael Cole, all Michael Cole's up on the stage. Of course, once the event starts, they got all the people talking, kind of getting us hyped up. But look, we were all there to just see the one thing, right? We were there to see Rock Roman. Everybody was excited. And they pivot, hard pivot. They go from, we think, Cody's turned down the match. He's not gonna wrestle Roman, Rock and Roman, and then they thrilled you to death. They throw up the tree, the family tree, right? They give you all of that, and it's begins the first piece of this puzzle, right? The question became, Rock turned heel at the media event, and my first question was did he though?
Did he throw a fireball? Did he beat somebody with a strap? Did he cheat? What did he do? Did they jump on him and do something horrible? He didn't really turn heel, if you ask me. I mean, he thought Cody disrespected his family, and he slapped him. Is that a heel turn? Well, everybody in the world thought it was a heel turn. And he goes on Pat McAfee and calls him a bunch of Cody crybabies. All it did was give Cody motivation and probably chicken nugget shoved up his ass. And then Pat McAfee has to face Cody the next day on Raw, or the next, 2-3 days later on Raw, with no idea what to do with those chicken nuggets. It was a lot. It
Yeah,
was a
I
lot.
mean the reason I'm asking is I think there's a potential down the road. I think the only thing Rock, when they say he turned heel, if is it's all based on him slapping Cody. I'm like, well, Cody kind of did respect the family a little. I'm not saying he really did, but he kind of did. Rock took it that way, and sometimes in life, people just take things the wrong way, and so Rock may not. Like, I know. Now, here's the funny thing: Rock's gone out online and like he's embracing this heel persona. And I think that's because right now, if you're going to pivot in the direction they have, he kind of has to. Like, come on and hate me. Come on and hate me, right? And embrace it. I think there's a layer to this story that may not play out the way people think. I said it a week ago. What if this is all a plan by Rock and Cody? You know, they're working. They're literally going to work behind the scenes. Now, I don't know if I'm still there. By the way, I've changed my mind because I thought they went maybe a little too far for that. But I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out in the least. But I mean, did you like Seth being? I thought some people love Seth being out there. Some didn't. I was kind of like, I don't know.
I'm wanting Seth to be out at every promo, every time he can come on stage, every time he can come out dancing on that 1 foot thing he does, or whatever clothing and outfit he can wear. Seth is killing it right now. He's making these promos where I'm paying attention. I'm really watching Raw and SmackDown for the promos now. The matches are great, don't get me wrong. But when, I watch Monday Night Raw as close to live as you can get it, and when he brought up the word Shield, and he knows Roman, and he was going to be Cody's backup at WrestleMania, and it's like, oh God, or sorry, all this other stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? This is so much. It's Nick, I was fascinated. I haven't felt about professional wrestling like this since Gordon Soley was involved. Okay? I'm touched by it. I'm following it. I'm wanting to watch everything. So I think they're doing a great job. And then you saw the day after the press conference, SmackDown blows the ratings out of the water because Triple H is going to come out and make the assignment for the match. And now this week, SmackDown football season is over. The Rock is going to be there. Roman Reigns and Triple H is going to be there. Can you imagine what kind of ratings they're going to do? Holy crap.
I think they do less.
Less?
Yeah.
Less?
I think 1 week later they do it. I'm not saying massive. They'll do 2.5, 2.6 maybe, but I think they do a little bit less than the 2.7. Who knows? They may break, with Rock being on there, they may break 3 for all I know. I mean, I just was like, I think Seth's involvement here. Let's go ahead and pivot into the part of the conversation, like the meat of the conversation, like look, the world changed with that press conference, that media event, whatever you want to call it. So everything I booked last week is trash at this point. So, and look, by the way, somebody can say like, oh boy, you changed your mind. Well, if they get to, I get to as well. Right. Like, I mean, clearly they pivoted and went in a different direction.
How do you not change your mind when they're booking faster than I've ever seen anything, or they're fooling us the whole time?
I don't think so. They clearly, like, when The Rock started getting booed and all of the feedback that he got, I think they kind of just were like, all right, dude, we got to change. And I think Rock gets it. Rock doesn't care whether you're booing him or cheering him as long as you're watching and you're buying tickets and that type of thing. Yes. So now going into Chamber, like, I know a lot of people are wondering the question. It looks like we're going to get Rock Roman versus Seth Cody. The scenarios being thrown around are like, hey, is night 1 that match, and then night 2 is it Cody versus Roman. Me personally, I hope we get Cody and Seth versus Rock and Roman at Chamber in Perth, because then you get Rock's first match under his belt. Look, a lot of people are saying,
yeah. Because I mean, right now the Chamber card is not super strong except for the Elimination Chamber matches. Now that's great because those are big matches. Elimination Chamber take a while. They're workup matches. There are a lot of equipment. You got to set up and do that kind of thing. But besides that, you've got the hometown girl and Nia Jax, and you've got Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne versus the Judgment Day. Do you want to squeeze another match in there, or do you want to let Rhea have the main event still? Because you can't not have Rock in the undercard.
If that match happens, it is the main event. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Here's the thing, though. I'm going to preface with what I would do, what I think they're going to do. I think there are two different things at this point. Unfortunately, I do believe all things Rock, Roman, and Cody happen at WrestleMania. I think it's total chaos for 2 nights of that whole saga playing out at WrestleMania. Just my opinion. Whether that's night 1, Cody wrestles Roman and defeats him, and then night 2 you have the tag match, flip it, doesn't matter. What I would do, because now they're talking about, the rumors are Rock Roman might not happen, you ready for this, until 41. So a year from now. Like, basically doing what they did with John Cena, where him and The Rock had that, they built to that match for a year. Like, do they repeat that? Does he, but my thing is if you beat Roman, doesn't he kind of have to, you're almost like he's going to go away for a while. So how do you build a match for a year? Again, that's everything I heard. Everything's probably going to take place at Mania.
Well, they're good about Roman not being there and still building matches.
But it's because of but it's how do you build Rock Roman if neither one are there on a regular basis?
Well, you'd have to see Rock on TV. They gave him $30 million, but he's now working there all the time. I mean, he's a board member. Does he have the incentive to make his stock go up? Is he the kind of guy that's in a position where he can influence his own investment? If he's on TV, does that make the stock price go up?
No.
If he's on TV, does he influence the investment he has? Does he make himself in a better place? Does he make his position on the board stronger? I think he does. I think he cements himself. Does he replace Triple H like the rumors I've heard on bad wrestling rumor websites? I hope to God no, because Triple H is the mastermind.
So we put this up last week, and we put it up on our TikTok channel. Follow us on TikTok, by the way. We do little clips and stuff. I encourage you highly, if you see a clip, by the way, this applies to reading headlines as well, please go watch the full episode, or please read the full article. The reason I say that is some of the comments that come up on TikTok videos sometimes, and I'm like, that's not what we said. Please go watch the full show.
We've had that conversation about something I read earlier today.
Like, yep.
Context is king.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, exactly. So back to our point. What I was saying, if it were me, I would make Roman Rock versus Seth Cody at Mania. Have some type of fallout. Cody and Seth win. How about this? Here's one for you. Roman tries to get the Bloodline to do something, like underhandedly to help him win, and Rock doesn't want it. That's not the way. Even the heel, he's like, we could beat these two chumps. But what if the interference backfires and that's why they lose? They lose because of the interference. Solo hits Rock, or Solo hits Roman, or blah, 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 and Cody gets the pin. Now we're heading into Mania, because there's a small detail I want to ask you about the media event that I'm wondering, Does it still apply? Cody has every right, because he won the Rumble. He has every right to challenge for that title. He has his match set in stone. Triple H said so. It's set in stone that him and Roman will wrestle for that title at Mania. But hey, Myron, how come nobody at this point is talking about Rock walked over to Roman and said, Rock versus Roman Reigns, main event WrestleMania, bound in blood. And they grabbed hands. Shook. By their family's traditions, Roman has committed to a match with Rock, whether they forget this or not. So if some shenanigans go down and they lose that match, you could very well have Rock say, we are fighting at WrestleMania. And Roman's like, no, I'm wrestling Cody. I have your word in blood. We are battle that is drawn in blood. We will face, because you are the head of the table and you represent the family. If that's what you claim, you have to defend it in battle at WrestleMania. And then win 2 nights. Let me ask you this. Would you go the route of Rock loses to Roman night 1 and Cody wins night 2 and he slays the dragon that not even The Rock could? Or would you take night 1, Cody takes the title, and then night 2, Roman loses head of the table to Rock?
Well, if Roman really wants to go away, this is the way to do it. This would be the perfect way to go away. The only variables we still have left in all of these equations is who wins the Elimination Chamber to face Seth. You pick Drew McIntyre, which I think will be a bland match on McIntyre Seth. I don't know if that's really the match anybody wants to see. So that's not going to really be a main event compared to The Rock and anybody else. And you still got Damian Priest holding the Money in the Bank contract longer than anyone else has held that contract, in my opinion. I'm sure someone has held it longer.
By the way,
What?
There's the sleeper move. I've been waiting for you to say that. Drew McIntyre, remember, had that history with the Judgment Day. That little brief window where he had those interactions with Judgment Day. What if he does face Seth, and at WrestleMania, Damian Priest cashes in, and he actually... So you still get your memorable moment with that title because Damian Priest cashes in and becomes the champion.
Okay, that's better. Okay. Then somehow this all gets twisted up. I see this going out. If we're going to fantasy book this, night 1, Cody, night 2, Rock for Roman. Okay. The head of the title and the head of the table. Now The Rock's the head of the table. The bloodline disintegrates. The Usos, do they reunite? We'll see. I think that's a possibility. I think, where does Solo go? Does he start dancing with Too Cool and then hit people with his butt? Is that what he's got coming in his career? I don't know.
I think there's still plenty of meat on the bone for the bloodline. I think that's the story, but you got to end it to start the rebuild. And, I think some guys will spin off and they'll be okay. I mean, who's to say Jimmy and Jay, separate shows become their own? Like, look, I think Jay's doing great on his own for that matter.
Oh yeah. He's killing it with the Yeats and all that. Working with the other people. I really do. Working with New Day. I really do think Paul Heyman is going to be the interesting thing that comes out of all this. I'm happy. I'm enjoying it. So let's go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think the magic would be if Roman does go away. I would not be stunned to see CM Punk return with a heel run and have Paul Heyman with him.
Oh.
Go back to because look, if Brock's not coming back, if Roman's going away for a while, I think Punk's a great fit to throw back with Paul, and I think that there's some beauty there. So could be scary, beautiful. Man. Could be a scary change.
Sounds very scary. And speaking of scary, ooh, I've heard scary stories about wrestling, but scary stories, Nick?
Yeah, man. Look, there's a great new channel. We got a new advertiser for the show. We want to bring it to some attention to. Check them out over on YouTube. It's William Scary Things. If you like, some cool, like the horror, the paranormal, definitely check them out over at William Scary Things on YouTube. Are you a fan of the strange, mysterious, and unusual? Do you enjoy stories told firsthand about creepy experiences? UFO encounters, ghostly apparitions, near-death and afterlife experiences, even parallel universes? Well, if so, you need to check out the YouTube channel William Scary Things. It is a new, albeit determined channel. William was influenced as a kid by books, movies, stories, all that were passed down by his friends and family, and they all had a creepy theme. What started out as a scary story narration is now a long-form interview process with people who have experienced weird and unusual things firsthand. Do you want to hear about a house with the former owners that were laid to rest right in the front yard? Yeah, told by yours truly. Well, if so, William Scary's Things has you covered. How about a witness to the Phoenix Lights, probably the most renowned UFO sighting in modern history? Maybe you want to hear about a first-hand encounter with a ghostly apparition late one night with a photo to boot. No problem. William's got you covered there too. Were you a fan of the Scary Stories to Tell and Dark Book series as a kid? Want to learn more about the Solway Firth Spaceman? Well, if so, it's all right there. So head on over to William Scary Things and check out his latest episodes and give him a like, subscribe to the channel, heck, leave a comment. Trust me, there's nothing to be scared of. That's right, man. Check out our friend William over there on William Scary Things. Cool. If you're into that paranormal, the UFOs, the scary stuff, and parallel universes and all that kind of stuff, definitely check them out. Give them a like, subscribe, turn your notifications, just like any YouTube channel, to make sure you don't miss it. One single thing as they happen, when he's dumping those new episodes, check them out and go back and catalog. He's got a few of them that are already out there that are on there. Check them out, man. It's pretty cool. I actually did an episode. So yes, yours truly has an episode on his channel.
Now, is he related to Richard Scary?
It's not William Scary. It's William's Scary Things.
Because Richard Scary wrote a lot of books when I was a kid.
Yeah. That he did. Yeah, that's true. Look, now nobody's reading anymore, Myron, because all they're doing is sitting around binge watching stuff on Netflix, and I can attest. But look, a good question came up this past week that we were having some conversations with some people. And look, it's always been a bone of contention with me, by the way. When the WWE Network started, and I remember me and you having some of this conversation, that means I can watch old Mid-South, or I can watch old AWA, or I can watch old WCW.
Anything you want to
whatever.
See. Oh, the miracles of network television on the computers.
Yeah. And I pushed back and said, even back then, like, there's certain people that appreciate it. Like, I love turning on a Mid-South episode every now and then and watching it or whatever. But we ain't the norm, man. To be blunt, when people are like, man, they took away some of it, they don't have it anymore, they got rid of it, there's nothing but new stuff. That's because they found out that their time and efforts were being wasted because there was such a minority of the audience that was actually watching those things.
Servers and bandwidth, Nick. Servers and bandwidth.
Dude, people don't understand. They were having to like upgrade the video quality and all that kind of stuff to get it onto, it's not like they just slap the VHS in there and play it and it comes out on Netflix or on network or something.
They're taking clay tablets and they're trying to convert them into HDMI level.
They literally were having to convert VHS to digital in order to air it. So it's like the process alone was like, that cost money. Then there's the upload, like you said, and then there's server space, there's bandwidth that running, all that kind of stuff. And they just found out that a lot of people, all right, this is not going to be popular. A lot of people say they do a lot of things that they don't do.
Yes.
Like, do you watch this? Yes, we do. When's the last time you watched it? And then you're like, oh, okay, you answered my question.
Well, I
For
mean,
me.
I claim to keep up with a lot of wrestling shows I have never once tuned into. I'll be honest with you. I
Um,
really, I really love a lot of the wrestling I grew up with, but I can't remember anything about it because I haven't watched it on the network or Peacock.
yeah.
I'll just tell you the truth. It's just, folks, I don't have that many hours in a day, and sometimes I'd rather just sit here quietly or watch porn. Let's be honest. It's just easier.
Well, speaking of the watching the Netflix stuff, somebody asked me, this was the question. What happens when they go to Netflix? Like because technically, by the way, Netflix will own the rights to stream it. They could have AWA on it, and somebody's like, well, what do you think they're going to do with it? And some people's argument is nothing. They're not going to want it. All they want is they just want the PLEs in the markets that they have it in, and around the world. And eventually we all believe they'll have it here. Or they'll want the new, Raw will air live. They'll have it there to replay it, I'm sure. But I'm going to ask the question, why not? I think one of the things, but here's the thing. The problem that I had with the way the WWE Network was handled is they just dumped it all on there and they left it. And listen, people argue about this thing that they do. It works for a reason. Netflix adds and removes shows to make them feel special and like you got to watch them because they're going away and you don't know when they're coming back.
Cycling content type stuff.
Do the same thing with the old stuff in wrestling.
Yeah.
For the next 10 weeks, AWA is going to be on Netflix for 10 weeks. Then it's going away and we don't know when it's coming back. But then the Mid-Atlantic stuff's coming in and it's going to be on there.
I'm trying to think if I watch Peacock for anything besides WWE.
We do. I mean, I know we do. We watch football and some of the SVU stuff, and because we don't watch SVU live, we watch it later, like days later.
Okay. SVU, yes. I've been I DVR it most of the time, and then watch it. Why am I saying DVR? Because there's no recorder of any kind. It's
still your DVR. If it's on, because they still call it DVR. It's a digital video recorder. It still says that.
Well, it's my YouTube TV. I'm just recording it through my YouTube TV, so it's in my library. But we record it and then we watch it, or we have to go on Peacock if something happens. But yeah, I mean, I could.
Can I tell you something?
It.
I can't tell you the last time I DVR'd anything because now everything's available on the stream now.
Well, I mean, I have it set up. W Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, SVU, and then Melissa watches. God almighty. Hey, Lev, let me give you a shout out. Melissa was watching the show the other night when I was trying to sleep called Traders. And one of the groups is called The Faithful. And all night long, I don't know if y'all know Alexander Lev. He's a NWA wrestler that tends to work around Georgia some. And they kept going, I'm faithful. I'm faithful. And the whole night I'm thinking, God.
All you kept doing was,
damn.
And I am
faithful. And I'm like, shit, can I sleep? Well, you're a traitor. No, I am faithful. But yeah, she watches the absolute worst reality TV and tapes every housewife show there is. Thank God I don't think I would. Remember when you used to have to do that to set stuff up to tape, Nick?
Oh, dude, you want to hear the grace? I'm the one. I taped a WCW thing over one of my children's birth. So it happened. That's the story I was told.
On purpose or accidentally?
Accidental.
Okay.
Yeah, not on purpose. I would not have done that on purpose. But anyway, go ahead. Yes, I do remember when you had to tape
that's
stuff.
just hilarious, man. And I know we got off track there, but that's just, I mean, how am I going to downsize my streaming services and they keep moving the damn WWE stuff?
Well, I mean, technically you could kill Peacock and go straight to Netflix with it, but I mean, But look, Peacock's going to have the PLEs for a while, so that's going to be an argument. You can't do that either. So, but look, I like the idea. They, let us know at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Would you be more inclined? That's why I guess my question was, instead of just dumping it all on there and having a tab where it's just always there, does it make it feel more special if they're cycling in and out the content?
How can I love you if you won't go away? Or how can I miss you if you won't go away? I was thinking about my ex-wife.
But that's just my thought. But look, it's the old content, but now we're going to talk about some new content stuff.
Yes.
And rumors are Okada and Mercedes Monet are both heading to AEW. That's right. Okada's not going to NXT, apparently, like the story was a week ago.
Did you see the picture at the Super Bowl? It was Britt Baker, Mercedes Monet. It was Bailey and Trinity or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so they went to the Super Bowl together, and people are like saying all kind of horrible stuff. And then we see Kaylee Latimer, our good friend Camille. She was at an AWE to visit some friends, and they're all said, "Oh, she's going to AWE because she's."
You literally are having flashbacks when she was at AWE.
Yes.
AEW.
Oh yeah, that's right. AEW. I've seen her at AWE.
We have seen her at an AEW show. Yeah. That's correct.
But that's the thing, folks. These people just go places together because they're all friends, and they came up together and they know each other. So this is like the thing with Mercedes Monet. Everybody's like, she's signed. She's signed. She's been signed since November. Okay, maybe. Okada. Oh, he's probably signed. Maybe. The destinations they're talking.
So listen, Myron, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, Mercedes Monet is signed. There's no way she's not signed. The rumor was she signed prior, but they didn't want to release during the whole Vince. And the reason, that's not their company, it would get lost in the shuffle if that's all the headlines were in wrestling were about Vince.
Okay, cool. I get that.
But look, the announcement of when they made the big announcement, they're coming to Boston. Look, they added an extra S to Boston, and they put the dollar signs, not S's. So it was the Boston they're coming to. Tell me Mercedes Monet's coming without saying Mercedes Monet's coming. Okada. Okay, so here, I guess the big question was going to be, look, we get it. We're going on the premise they're both signed, they're both coming. One, she has made an impact. They sold 6,000 tickets like that when they announced the whole Boston thing.
6,000.
Doubling a lot of the shows they've been running, right out of the gate. Do I think they'll probably break? I think the building holds 7 under the current setup. They'll probably push it to 8 if they can, I'm guessing. Ooh. And it'll be one of their best shows other than Revolution, where Sting's last match is. Okada, when they make the announcement he's coming, they may have a great night. That's not the question. CM Punk came, Spike. Every former WWE talent or whatever that came over, there's a little spike, and it peters out after a couple of weeks. Yes. I'm not going to be as bold as to say she's going to do like 1 million the episode she's on, and the next week she's going to be down to like 700,000-800,000 again. By the way, they did like 850 last week, so if that's kind of where they are. That's the thing is, I said it with Punk. Let's see where they are 6 months after he got there. Ready for this? I'm going to be a little more generous. I'm only going to go 3 months this time. Let's see where they are 3 months after they're both there. I think your take was, they're not going to handle them right, so it's not going to matter. I'm going to say, I don't care if they're used right. I still don't think it matters.
Okay. Okada is going to be a drop in the bucket because the only people who know, I mean, I realize their audience is typically smart fans. And I realize their audience will probably have a higher percentage of people who know who Okada is than a WE audience would do. But WE would send Okada to NXT and build him like they did Nakamura and turn around and get him up onto the main roster as a stronger type star. Instead of dropping him into the main roster, assume people know who he is, make him a big deal on a roster full of ex-WE ex New Japan talent, and eventually it's so full. And we're going to go into Tony Khan knows how to do everything later in the show, and his impact is trivial in the end. Mercedes Monet, the same thing. She could go back to WWE, be Sasha Banks, and I'm on my own, enjoying the four horsewomen and fix things. Look at Naomi, she's back. She could be an impact player back in WWE. I think it would be great. But she's going to go to AWE and
AEW.
AEW and be Sasha. She's going to be Mercedes Monet, who's only going to be recognized by the fans. Then they're going to have to figure out who she is. And like everybody else, she's going to be pushed to the back of a crowded roster.
I
Unless,
don't
I
think
mean,
so.
well, even if she isn't, I just don't think Tony Khan is going to make anything out of her. It's going to be a massive goodwill pop. Everybody's going to be so excited to see her.
I
But she's going to fall in that hole, Nick,
I think she's going to become the face of their women's division.
like Britt Baker was.
No, I think she will be, because Mercedes Monet has a very loyal fan base. The Boston show sold that. Hold on, you got to let me get to the end, because this is the thing. I think she will be the star of the women's division. I think she will quickly become their champion. I think she will be absolutely one of the faces of the company. I'm not saying that matters in the numbers. I think their audience still is what it is. But I'm going to say she's going to be handled correctly. I think she'll be one of the top faces of the company. I just don't know that it matters in the grand scheme of things as far as from a business side. She's going to sell a ton of merch. She's going to sell, pay-per-views, or, she's going to sell tickets to house shows, all that kind of stuff. That won't sustain, by the way. That will peter off. But I still think she's the one. Okada, this is the unfortunate one. He's going to give you dream match after dream match that no one outside of that base cares about. So he's not going to grow you anything either. That's just my take. That's when
No
I say
story, all angles. What was it? What was that?
I don't even think it's going to be angles, dude. I think we're just going to get a match. Like, I want to wrestle Daniel Bryan again. Okay. I want to wrestle Hangman. I want to wrestle Kenny Omega when he's back, and it's just going to be one guy after that. I say, yeah. So that's my take.
I'm bored as shit with that. Okay.
Yeah.
I need a build up to that match. I need a rematch type thing. I need some of this promo type stuff.
Yeah.
Roman and Cody wrestled last year at Mania. Why should I care to see it again? And I do. Dream matches happening that I don't care about. But I care about that because they built it. Not just putting it on Dynamite.
Yeah. But look, are they coming? Yes. We both agree that I think they're both coming. Do I think they make a bump? They will make a bump, but it won't maintain, and that ultimately is what they're looking for. They need something that'll.
Are you betting me on that?
I'm 100% betting it on it. Look, and speaking of betting, Myron, look, Super Bowl's over, football season's over, but that doesn't mean our friends at Prize Picks aren't still running, because still right now you can do college and pro basketball. Baseball's going to be coming up soon enough. All of those things and more with our friends over at Prize Picks.
You still working on this?
It's 2 minutes to kickoff. Who do I pick?
2 words, Prize Picks. It's so easy. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. It's just you against the numbers. Simply pick the over-under on 2 or more players, and that's it. You can win up to 10 times your money in just one day. Join over 150,000 people who found a better way to play. Download the Prize Picks app today and get your first deposit match up to $100.
That's right, man. Check out our friends over at Prize Picks, because it's not even just sports, man. It's esports. All the above, prizepicks.com, and go to the show notes. Our promo code is in there, and you can actually get a signing bonus when you do that as well. So, but look, I'll tell you who's not getting the bonus this quarter anyway.
Oh,
Scott D'Amore, man.
We've been arguing about this basically since the news came out, and which it came out right after we got finished recording. So it's like,
literally, yeah.
We pressed stop, and then they fired Scott D'Amore.
Okay.
Scott saw it coming, but didn't tell anybody. And then I found out later Scott was trying to buy the company. He had a letter of credit. And then you tell me Scott is a businessman outside of wrestling.
Yeah, it's so I will walk a fine line. Am I gonna say it? Yeah, okay, I'll say it. So Scott D'Amore being let go. Literally moments after it happened, we got a message from somebody saying, "Hey, probably shouldn't have recorded yet." And I was like, "Too late, we're done." And they were like, "Oh, well, here's the news." And they sent me the news. I'm like, "Shit." But then I was speaking to another person, and they're like, "Yeah, man, I'm hearing why." The word that I was told is it was mismanagement of funds, and I'm like, I don't think that's correct. And they came back with, and they were like, no, it's not like he was doing anything wrong with the money. It just in the sense of Scott was pushing to increase the budget. Scott was trying to grow. He was trying to push this brand. I mean, think about it, dude. He had Okada at the last pay-per-view. We just had a conversation about Okada. He had, he's brought in, look, we'll call him Dolph for a second, Nick Nemeth, but Dolph was, he brought Dolph in. He's pushing, he's really trying to up the game for the talent.
At one time, they were talking about signing Braun Strowman to a 7-figure deal.
I mean, all kinds of stuff, dude. Like, we've been saying it for months, but especially since that pay-per-view, that Hard to Kill pay-per-view, there was so much buzz, so much. Look, and again, could it just be we're inside the wrestling bubble, so that's what we were hearing was the inside the wrestling bubble noise? Probably. But there was a positive spin and buzz going on.
Happy wrestlers, happy fans.
Well, see, that wasn't the part. I didn't tell you this part. I heard not everybody was happy. I heard there was also a split in the locker room. I heard there was they were Scott D'Amore talent and not Scott D'Amore talent.
Oh.
Some people were kind of like, hey, why don't we go young and with some of this indie talent, some younger talents?
Oh.
Scott was a fan of like Moose and some guys like that,
the safe bet type guys.
Even the women
guys.
He made a change to the women's tag team. He brought the vets in and put them back on top. Moose is on top. You could see where we're going. Like he liked the more stable, top people.
No names.
Here's the thing. I blew off what I heard. It's like I just don't buy that. Well, then Moose comes out and basically says, if Scott's not here, I don't know what I'm doing here. Basically, like if he's not here, I'm gone. So is Moose dropping the belt at the next show and like I'm out of here? So I was like, well, maybe there is a little truth to the whole dividing of the locker room and stuff, maybe with Scott. But then the big kicker was then the words come out like you said. There's rumors that he maybe wanted to buy it because here's the thing, like you said, Scott pays his bills in other ways. Super successful businessman. He loves wrestling, and that's why he's involved in the wrestling. For him to come in and say, like, I have a vision and I want to buy this thing, that, by the way, Conrad Thompson throws out there, he wouldn't be shocked by the end of the year if Scott D'Amore did own TNA. Like, he could still see it happening. Like, there has to be a time when, does Anthem at this point ready to cut their losses? I mean, look, most people don't realize Viacom cut their losses, dude. They sold Bellator. They were just like, we're out. We're out of the combat sports business. Like, are people starting to make those cuts? And like, now is it like, does Anthem has to look at what do they value what do they value TNA on their channel? Is it cheaper for them to take the losses and just produce that show so they have content? Because here's what I didn't understand. Why if they're desperate for content for that channel, air the old footage, like the old TNA library footage at times, and just like air, even if it's late or whatever, fill those holes.
Is it cheaper to let someone else run it and buy it than to run it yourself? I don't know the answer to that question.
So the answer though becomes then if you sell it, do you pay somebody to run it in that slot? Like, does one offset the other cost? That's the problem. Like, if you can produce it cheaper than actually buying the rights to air it on your channel, then why wouldn't you just keep it and just pay the cost of the production and
liabilities, things like that? There's all kind of legal stuff. Is combat sports a thing where we're moving to a model where combat sports are owned by combat sports companies? Or
well, they
we're not.
I know, but
where they're not owned by companies investing in them. Are networks spinning off and getting rid of their products? Is that where it's going to be? where a network like Anthem is not going to own a product like that. I don't know. Anthem's already cross marketing. Anthem's got their stars on reality TV shows and making appearances already, promoting things. Maybe it's a business decision. Maybe they decided, okay, here's something we don't know what to do with. D'Amour's gone. We're going to take this product and television market it. We're going to take the what we see as marketable stars and try to get them in other places where we know what to do with them.
But then you got to pay them again.
Depends on their contracts.
No, they have wrestling contracts. Remember, look, I do know the TNA contracts. I've actually pretty familiar with. They're paid to wrestle like per event, basically. Like so many, but a lot of them are like you wrestle X amount of times. You have to be available for our shows, and we pay you this amount. So if you're using them outside of that, they're going to have to pay them again.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's not advantageous to put them somewhere else. So I think that's the uphill battle that they face. Is like, I think it'll boil down simple to your profit and loss statements. Are you cheaper just keeping it and producing it, or
Cheaper
are
to
you better
keep her.
off? Yeah. Is it cheaper to keep her, or are you better to sell and move on? Because here's the thing. Nothing's worth buying if they don't have airtime. No wrestling promotion is probably worth it if you're not going to give them the TV time.
Well, I mean, it's cheaper to like run Hallmark movies or reruns of something a lot of times, and you've got more audience for it if you want to run Big Bang Theory. But what does D'Amour do? We looked at that. You said Conrad thinks he's going to own the company.
I think he said, yeah, there's a chance. If he was like, and he said, look, I don't know. I'm just betting. If I was putting my money on it, I would say that he would. He'll end up owning it because he wants to. It's his, like he sees it. For 6 years, it's been his baby, essentially.
Yeah.
But look, with his actual business endeavors, WWE schedule is probably not fitting for him.
No. And he would be a big fish and a giant ocean. He would be a guy that's great, but everyone there is great. And he might get lost in the shuffle. At AEW, no one's going to listen to anybody but Tony Khan because Tony Khan's not going to allow anybody else to be boss. It's a I don't know what the word is, but it's a one-man gang over there.
It's a creative dictatorship.
Well,
no, it's a creative dictatorship.
I'm thinking of I was going to say dictatorship, but it's a situation where Tony's just in charge. And he probably won't listen to anyone else, even if they're right. It's his toy. It's just his toy. Vince even would listen to somebody else. So,
we'll see. Look, hopefully Scott. Scott. Here's the great thing: Scott doesn't need wrestling. Wrestling needs Scott D'Amour more than he needs wressling.
I'd love to talk to Scott, just pick his brain and just chat with him.
So he'll be fine. He'll be okay. But it is what
Hopefully
it is.
he'll show up at a convention or something so I can just sit down and talk to him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But look, before we get out of here, we're going to remind you guys, make sure you're checking us out over on YouTube and on Patreon. The handle on YouTube is @TappedOutPod, of course, the same as everything else. Make sure you're liking the page, turn your notifications on, subscribe, all that great stuff, So especially when I do doubleheader days where we're dropping multiples at it one day, you get both. Look, we get it. Believe it or not, people are still listening to podcasts instead of just on YouTube. Myron, I'm just kidding. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, all that good stuff, man. Subscribe there too, because especially like a day like tomorrow when we're going to drop 2 episodes, they'll kind of go bloop bloop. They'll come back to back right out on I'll probably stagger them time wise, so you might have time to listen to one before the other one drops. Maybe
I get a lot of feedback. That people listen to us while they work. My melodious voice helps them progress through the day. And I want to wish everyone working today. I hope they had a great Valentine's Day yesterday, since this is released the day after Valentine's. And if you didn't find love, perhaps you need to talk to me for some tips. I might be doing a romance podcast after I run out. I got to run out after this and buy some Valentine's presents.
Yep. Well, I already took care of mine this morning. But look, let's talk not about today.
Well, I'll take care of it later.
If you want to do a weekend,
Wait.
if you want to do a weekend Valentine's Day, couple places. Look, we're going to go ahead and tell you where we're going to be this weekend before we get out of here. We are going to be at Disruptor Pro Wrestling. That is going to be at the Tannery Row Ale House in Buford, Georgia. Look, Terry Lawler, like you brought up, invited us to one of our first indie shows as a podcast.
Yes.
So, look, there's a lot of...
My first indie show ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I typically go to Southern Fried whenever Southern Fried opens the doors, but this is special for me. This back when Charles still owned Southern Fried, Terry invited us to go. It was a benefit show in Covington. I don't remember much of anything at all these days, but I still remember this little crappy building. They put the ring up. The characters, whether it was back when Referee Slim was working security. Harlow O'Hara there before she went on to work at WOW. I believe she's Fury there.
Mm-hmm.
She was on the card. Terry invited us. Lots of the old Southern Fried gang hanging around.
Drew Blood almost fell in your lap, and that he almost fell all over you when he slid on those chairs, and you were hooked ever since. So
one of the last times I ever sat on that was one of the last times I ever sat on the front row. It was finalized when Keith Lee fell in my lap, which I'll never repeat that again. But I'm telling you, folks, there's a magic from independent wrestling. And it just is an experience y'all should go see and be there live. But Terry Lawler, if you've never met him, is the nicest human being on the face of this earth. I don't think Terry Lawler could do something bad to anyone. He is the most loved person. I don't know if anybody say anything bad about him.
He's loved by the crazy thing about both types of wrestlers, and we'll leave it at that.
He's loved by good, bad, and evil.
Yeah, well, that's not the route I was going with, but I'll let you have that one. That's not what I was going with it, but yeah.
Yeah. And
look, so you got to go out and show your support. Terry Lawler has been wrestling for over 30 years, and he's never wrestled in his hometown. And finally, Disruptor Pro is giving him a chance to wrestle in his hometown in a building that his dad worked at, his grandmother worked at, like back when it was actually the old tannery building. So it's a special night in general if you're from that area. Look, check it out. And by the way, lots of other crazy stuff going to be on that card.
Yeah.
Definitely
it's a card
check
for
them out.
super indie fans too. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff you don't see on an independent card around this area. So I would recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, we get it. Look, check us out. We will be there at Tannery Row in Buford, Georgia, Disruptor Pro. Same night, however, you cannot go wrong. We also completely and wholeheartedly endorse Southern Fried Championship Wrestling's running that night. Go check them out if you're on that Monroe side. Look, the usual suspects will be there. Todd, David, and all them. They run a spectacular show. I think you'll be, more than entertained. We always are when we go checking them out. Like I said, we just had the prior commitments. We didn't know this date when we, also when we committed to Disruptor as well. But look, Disruptor's return was another one like we had to.
Yeah, they've been gone for a while, so I'm so happy they're coming back. So much variety in independent wrestling in our area. I suggest folks find independent wrestling where you live, get out there and see it. It's an experience you'll never replicate anywhere else, and you'll get to see the stars as they build up. Think of all the people we've met now that are wrestling on cards all over the country, Dave.
Oh, yeah, 100%, man. I agree with you, man. So that's where we'll be. Make sure you're checking it out, making sure you find us. If you see us there, by the way, come up, say hello. We appreciate all that.
Oh, yes. We love you. We need you.
Absolutely, man. You got anything else before we get out of here today?
No, man, I don't have anything else.
What's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.